Please Donate, a game about donating and raising Robux, has had a number of updates and changes to it before, and with each of these big updates has always come some sort of new game pass or new booth with it. I could tell you all about the booths in this game, but as you read the title, we're going to be focusing on just the game passes. As of this video coming out, there are a total of 8 game passes in the game, including a secret game pass that got deleted a really long time ago, and I own just about every single one. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining and ranking each game pass and telling you which one is worth it and which one is not. But before I do that, make sure you hit the subscribe button because I'm trying to reach 20,000 subscribers by the end of October, so let's try and hit that. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the video. The donation sign. Since the beginning of the game, Please Donate has had a donation sign game pass where you can carry around all your game passes from your stand onto a big wooden sign. It didn't always look like this though. The first model of the sign could barely fit any of your donation buttons onto it, but after the grand opening of Please Donate, the sign model was changed from this slim wooden plank to these two massive wooden boards on a stick. This is the current sign model that we all know and love to this day. And just like regular booths, your sign model can change depending on how much you have donated. But my favorite feature from this sign is the fact that it's still a tool. Since it basically welds to your hand, you can go in VR and start whacking people around with your sign. Did I also mention that for all of this, the sign only costs 99 Robux, making it the second cheapest game pass in the shop. And with all these features included, as well as the price being so cheap, I honestly would put this in A tier in the list. I would rank it higher, but my only problem is that you can't change the sign model once you've reached 100,000 or 1 million donated. You're basically stuck with the same color. Our next game pass on the list would be the boombox control. This is one of those game passes that you see in almost every single game in Roblox, and it also works like any basic boombox in Roblox. You take a song ID that you uploaded to Roblox, and you would paste it into the boombox's GUI, and it would work just like a speaker, playing your favorite song on loop for everyone to hear. Now, if we take a quick look at the ratings of said game pass, we'll see that it's the worst rated game pass out of all 7 game passes on the store. But why is this? It literally says what it does, right? Just play music. Well, here's where the issue really strikes. The game pass was placed in the store and sold to all users in the beginning of June 2022, meaning that when it was sold, it did work for a few people, but around that same month, just 2 weeks later, Roblox was being sued by the National Music Publishers Association, NMPA for short. And long story short, Roblox and NMPA ended up settling for $200 million that Roblox had to pay. And this ended up changing how Roblox handles their audio across the platform. This resulted in players no longer be able to use audio however they wanted on the platform. Now, beforehand, there were a few systems that would detect if the audio was copyright, and Roblox would automatically delete them. But now, Roblox has made it entirely different, because after the changes, users now require permissions from the owner of the game to use their audio inside of that game. There's something called a universe ID. As you can see, I could take this audio that I uploaded a few days ago and upload it to the boombox, and nothing starts playing. But if we check the developer console, we can read that the sound failed to load because the user is not authorized to access the asset. This just means that I don't have permission to use this audio inside of this game by default. So basically, I would need special permissions from Hasm. Hasm would actually have to get my audio and paste it into the creator page of Please Donate for the song to actually work. But it can play songs by Roblox and only Roblox, essentially rendering the boombox completely useless, unless you actually want to play Roblox approved music or just sound effects. Now, there are ways that people have been able to bypass this and somehow still be able to play music through this, but it's kind of a hassle. I think the game pass is good in theory, but it was just a wrong timing kind of thing. The fact that audio got completely removed and changed after this was just bad timing. So the game pass I would say is D tier for the fact that it's still in shop, and it's basically useless if you don't know how the audio system works in Roblox, but it's also cheap. I mean, most games will charge you like 500 for a boombox in their game, but no, in this one it's actually just 39 Robux. Anyways, let's just move on to the third game pass, the Cloaking Device. Okay, right off the bat, I want to say that this is definitely on the list of my favorite game passes because this is one of those game passes that I use the most. The Cloaking Device, we can see from the name, lets you go completely invisible and hide from other players, specifically people following you around. Also, it plays this really cool effect whenever you do go in and out of invisible mode, and it is extremely loud, by the way. You can literally hear it from across the map. I also want to say that this item works really well on legacy servers. Let me explain. In legacy servers, you can go invisible and run around the map freely, and really the only people that might be able to find you is people who can exploit to teleport to you, or if you're just holding an item out. But why do I say only legacy servers? players? Well, since the update of Please Donate 2, they added this friend list system right here. You may have seen this in games like Natural Disaster Survival. When you click on a player, it'll prompt you with a few options, like if you want to send them a friend request, view their avatar, or just wave at them. It also prompts you with a blue diamond right above their head that follows them around to indicate which player it is. So by doing this in Please Donate, even if you go invisible, if players are viewing your character through this system, they can easily track you where you are moving with this diamond. And even if you don't manage to click on the player while they're invisible, you can still scroll through the player list using the A and D keys until you find them. So unless people know about this method, the Cloaking Device is still a pretty good item. This is probably the best item for hiding from other players. Just know that in newer servers, there is a chance that a player could be looking for your character by using this method. I think the item deserves an A tier just for practicality. I mean, you just tap to go invisible and that's it. It also costs 400 Robux, so it's not expensive, but it still works. The next item that I'm going to be talking about, I actually mentioned during the Cloaking Device, but I didn't tell you which item exactly this was until now. That item is the Disguise Mask. Similar to the Cloaking Device, this is one of those items that you can use to hide from the other players, but more specifically, blend in with the other players. If you have a lot of players following you around in this game looking for you, the item can help you look like a completely different player. When used, this item gives you a random avatar that can range from literally any player on the website and a random username like Mark, John, Bob, some pretty common names. I do want to mention though, however, that you can't choose a specific username or avatar. But the good thing is that you can use this as many times as you want. And most of these times, these avatars will be a bacon or a noob of some sort. And if you're really lucky, an actual user's avatar. It's kind of like playing a character roulette. As for the sound, it's not as loud as the Cloaking Device, which is a good thing. But as I mentioned, players can still find you by using the diamond method. So it's not a 100% secure way of hiding yourself from other players. Oh, and one more thing, when you type in chat, it also won't change your username. So even if your name is Bob with a bunch of random numbers, when you type in chat, it'll still show you as your original player. There's not really much else to it. It's just a disguising item and it works pretty well. As for the price, it is cheaper than the Cloaking Device, so it is a better alternative if you just want to hide from other players. I'd rank this at C tier because it's really easy to see through and names can actually get pretty repetitive. It might be able to fool a new player, but players who have been playing for a long time will see right through it. Anyways, on to the next item. If you played Please Donate from anywhere between May 2022 or June of 2022, you may remember seeing this item in the shop of a spinning wheel, or you may have seen the present day players randomly have it. The biggest question surrounding this item is where can I get it, or how can I spin it? Well, to answer both of your questions, you can't. First off, the item is no longer obtainable. The item was first released on May 22nd of 2022 and was sold for 99 Robux. The wheel featured a sign-like tool where you could input any numbers into it to set onto the wheel. Once you set the numbers or use the default ones that came with the tool, you'd be able to spin it around in a random order to land on, again, a random number. And in theory, this sign would be used for players to have a chance to spin on anything that they bet. In other words, gambling. The most common way that players use this was players would first donate to somebody with the wheel and the player would then spin the wheel. And whatever number the player landed on, that's what the other player would be donating to them. It all seems really beneficial for both players. I mean, this couldn't go wrong in any way, right? Well, it did. You see, the spinning wheel really benefited whoever the owner of the wheel actually was. The owner of the wheel could sell spins for whatever price they wanted and could set the numbers on the wheel to any amount as well. So they could sell their wheel spins at a crazy amount and only have to give a small bit in return. But the worst part of this all is that they didn't actually even donate. There's nothing in the game that forces you to donate if the wheel actually lands on something. So when players found this out, people began putting some crazy stuff on the wheel, like 100 Robux wheel spin, and you only have to donate 10 Robux. And once the player actually landed on a big number, all the player did was just leave, which is pretty much why just after 2 months, this item was removed from the shop completely and the Game Pass hasn't come back since. Luckily though, in main servers, it doesn't do anything as it is temporarily disabled, but this still doesn't stop players from using it in Legacy. So is or was this item worth it? I think so. It was made to make donating people more interesting, but also introduced a whole new wave of scammers to the game. Nowadays, if you want to bet something with someone in the game, you can just use the playground island with the tic-tac-toe game or the soccer field, but I'm glad this item is gone because at least now there's less scammers using this. I think I'd have to put this item in B tier. It was a really good item from old Please Donate, but it brought way too much negative attention to the game. Also, I bet you don't have the next item that I'll be talking about. If I'm right, then you gotta hit the subscribe button. And 3, 2, 1, the golf cart. Sold on December 2nd, 2023, the golf cart Game Pass was created to accompany the new Please Donate 2 update. The golf cart features a 6-seater blue cart with bouncy wheels, headlights that actually work by pressing L, a horn, and even a drift mechanic. Already, this golf cart is one of my favorite items. The golf cart has literally no restrictions. You want to spawn the cart inside of one of your friend's stands? Want to crash this thing into the water from atop a blimp? Oh, and my favorite thing about this cart is how glitchy it is. By hopping onto another player's golf cart and spawning your own golf cart, you'll be simultaneously stuck inside of the other player's cart while being able to fly. Just press F to start flying and don't touch anything to fall back onto the ground. And I promise you, these aren't even negatives. These are really just things I like about the golf cart. I could do an entire video about the glitches of the golf cart, but I think that's best saved for another video. Specifically next week's video. Apart from that though, the golf cart is pretty solid for a Game Pass. It works as intended and there's nothing malicious you can do with it, except block other people's stands, but that's rarely an issue. There's also not much backstory to this Game Pass either, other than for the first month of the release, the Game Pass of the golf cart could collide with other players. So for about just the first month of Please Donate 2 coming out, you could actually run people over in this game, but it was later fixed. Oh, and I forgot to mention it costs 499 Robux, so it is a tad bit more expensive than the other Game Passes, but still, it's a working car. I'm gonna put this Game Pass in B tier for how simple it is and how much fun it is just to mess around with these things. The next Game Pass is actually the most new Game Pass to come to Please Donate. The Booth Painter. So I actually made a short about this Game Pass a few months back, and I have a few new things to say about this Game Pass. The Game Pass lets you change certain groups of parts in your booth to different colors by using the preset colors or by inputting your own hex color to it. So a couple of issues with this. When you're actually changing each part of the booth, there's certain things that you can't change, and a lot of things are grouped together that don't feel like they should be grouped together. Also, whenever you're changing the color of this booth, it's really hard to see what exactly which part you're changing. There is a highlight that is added to each part that you are changing. There's a certain color change and blur in the background. You won't be able to really see it because of the blur effect and also because there's an orange tint in the way, which makes it really hard to use. If anything, they should change the UI to include a 3D viewport of the booth or make the UI at least a little smaller so that the booth is visible. Also want to mention that this Game Pass is over 699 Robux, making it the second most expensive Game Pass in the shop. I think I would put this in D tier. My issue with the Game Pass is that you can barely see anything while you're editing and how expensive it is. Also, there's a small bug with this. If you change any of the parts colors and then reset it back to original, it never actually saves back to the original colors. So whenever you want to reset your stand back to original, you have to change it every single time you join a new server. And on to our 8th and final Game Pass, the world's biggest sign ever. Now this sign originates all the way back to legacy servers and essentially is exactly as the Game Pass says. It's the world's biggest sign ever. It's the biggest sign that you can own on Please Donate, and it also costs 100,000 Robux. The Game Pass does have a few ratings on it already, and out of the 40 people who rated it, 5 people gave it a thumbs down and 35 people liked it. The sign also doesn't track how much you have donated, it just remains the default sign model. I don't own the Game Pass myself, so I won't be ranking it. And that's every Game Pass that you can get on Please Donate. This is my final rating right here. Let me know in the comments if you change anything on the tier list. Also, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do subscribe. Anyways, this has been MTH, and see ya!